Welcome, history lovers and travel enthusiasts, to a journey through time. Today, we're exploring the heart of England's storied past, where majestic stone walls whisper tales of kings, queens, and epic battles. Our adventure begins with the very foundations of these incredible structures, a story that reshaped the nation itself. The year is 1066. William the Conqueror crosses the Channel, and with his Norman conquest, a new era of architecture and power dawns across England. To solidify his rule, William introduced a revolutionary design: the Mortand Bailey Castle. Imagine a large earthen mound, the motte crowned with a wooden tower. The keep below it laid a bailey, a courtyard enclosed by a wooden fence and a ditch. These were not just forts, they were powerful symbols of Norman dominance, strategically placed to quell rebellion and administer new territories. From the Tower of London's initial construction to countless others, these early castles were built quickly, often using forced local labor, stamping a Norman footprint firmly on the English landscape. They were the administrative centers, the military garrisons, and the intimidating homes of the new ruling class, forever changing the face of the country. As we move into the High Middle Ages, from the 12th to the 14th centuries, the Age of Stone begins. The temporary wooden structures of the Normans gave way to formidable stone fortresses. This was the golden age of castle building. Why the change? Warfare evolved. Wooden walls were vulnerable to fire, but stone offered a much stronger defense. Architects and masons became masters of their craft, developing ingenious defensive features. We see the rise of concentric castles, a castle within a castle design, with multiple layers of walls, like the magnificent Beaumaris Castle in Wales. Gatehouses became elaborate death traps, with murder holes, multiple portcullises, and arrow slits. Towers changed from square, which had vulnerable corners, to round, which were stronger and offered better fields of fire. Dover Castle, the key to England, is a perfect example. A colossal fortress designed to withstand any siege, with its massive keep and extensive outer defenses. But these castles were more than just military strongholds. They were also the centers of medieval life. Within their walls, you'd find a bustling community: knights, ladies, servants, blacksmiths, and cooks. They were the seats of power for feudal lords, where justice was dispensed, taxes were collected, and lavish feasts were held. Grand halls, like the one at Kenilworth Castle, were built to impress, showcasing the owner's wealth and status. These stone giants were self-contained worlds, symbols of power, prestige, and permanence. The story of English castles is also a story of royal ambition and conflict. The Tower of London, for instance, is a perfect microcosm of this evil. It started as a simple Norman fortress, but was expanded by successive monarchs over centuries. It served as a royal palace, a formidable fortress, an infamous prison, and even a royal menagerie. Its walls have seen everything from lavish coronations to grim executions, housing kings and queens, as well as traitors and political prisoners. Think of Richard the Lionheart, who, upon returning from the Third Crusade, had to besiege his own castle to reclaim it from his brother John, or Edward I, the great castle builder, whose iron ring of castles in Wales was a masterful stroke of military strategy: subjugate the Welsh. These structures were the ultimate chess pieces in the Great Game of Thrones. Controlling a key castle meant controlling a region, its resources, and its people. Their strategic importance cannot be overstated. They were the very anchors of royal authority and the stages upon which the drama of medieval monarchy played out. As we enter the 15th century, England is torn apart by a dynastic struggle for the throne. The Wars of the Roses. The houses of Lancaster and York clash in a bloody, decades-long conflict. And castles are once again at the heart of the action. They became crucial strongholds and strategic prizes. Sieges were common, and the fate of a battle often depended on who held the local fortress. Warwick Castle, home of the powerful kingmaker Richard Neville, was a key base of operations. The bloody Battle of Towton, one of the largest and most brutal battles ever fought on English soil, saw castles used as rallying points and refuges. However, this period also marked a turning point. The development of gunpowder and cannons began to render even the mightiest stone walls obsolete. A well-placed cannonball could breach defenses that had stood for centuries. The age of the impregnable fortress was drawing to a close, forcing a radical rethink in military architecture. With the end of the Wars of the Roses and the rise of the Tudor dynasty under Henry VII, a new era of relative peace and prosperity began. The primary function of castles started to shift. While defense was still a consideration, comfort and grandeur became paramount. The Tudors were master propagandists, and their homes were designed to project power, wealth, and sophistication. Old, drafty fortresses were transformed into magnificent palaces. Large glass windows, a symbol of extreme wealth, replaced narrow arrow slits. Grand halls were adorned with intricate tapestries and wood carvings. Formal gardens and sprawling parks were laid out to provide settings for courtly entertainment like hunting and jousting. Hampton Court Palace is a prime example of this transition, a sprawling, luxurious complex designed for pleasure rather than defense. Even existing castles like Kenilworth were lavishly updated by figures like Robert Dudley to impress Queen Elizabeth I. The castle was no longer just a fort. It was a statement, a testament to the glamour and power of the Tudor court. Following the Tudor and Stuart periods, the role of the castle continued to diminish. The brutal English Civil War in the mid-17th century was, in many ways, their last great military hurrah. Many castles were besieged, captured, and subsequently slighted, deliberately damaged or demolished by parliamentarian forces to prevent them from being used again by royalists. With the rise of standing armies and new forms of fortification, the traditional castle became militarily redundant. A new, more peaceful and centralized political landscape meant that powerful lords no longer needed private fortresses. As a result, many fell into disrepair. Their stones were plundered for local buildings, their halls fell silent, and nature began to reclaim them. For centuries, they stood as romantic, ivy-clad ruins, haunting reminders of a bygone age of chivalry and conflict. But the story doesn't end there. In the 18th and 19th centuries, during the Romantic movement, there was a great revival of interest in the medieval past. Artists like J.M.W. Turner painted dramatic landscapes featuring ruined castles, and writers like Sir Walter Scott filled their novels with tales of knights and fair maidens. This romantic fascination led to a new appreciation for these structures. Wealthy aristocrats began to buy and restore old castles, not as military forts, but as grand country homes. Some, like Windsor Castle, which had remained a continuous royal residence, were extensively remodeled in a romantic, neo-Gothic style. Others were painstakingly preserved as historical monuments. This period saved many of England's castles from complete oblivion, transforming them from forgotten ruins into treasured symbols of national heritage. The castle was reborn, this time as a guardian of history and a source of romantic inspiration. Today, England's castles stand as magnificent windows into the past, inviting us to walk in the footsteps of history. From the imposing walls of Warwick to the windswept ruins of Corfe, each one tells a unique story. They are some of the most popular tourist attractions in the country, managed by organizations like English Heritage and the National Trust, who work tirelessly to preserve them for future generations. Walking through a castle courtyard, you can almost hear the clang of a blacksmith's hammer or the chatter of the market. Standing on the battlements, you can imagine archers watching for an approaching army. These castles are not just static museum pieces. They are living history lessons. They host reenactments, medieval fairs, and educational events that bring the past to life. They allow us to connect with the epic dramas, the daily lives, and the incredible ingenuity of the people who built and inhabited them. From the first Norman mounds of earth and wood to the grand Tudor palaces and the romantic ruins that dot the landscape, the story of England's castles is the story of England itself. Each stone, each archway, and each weathered battlement is a testament to 1,000 years of conflict, ambition, and artistry. They are the enduring legacy of a nation's journey, forever etched in the annals of time. They remind us of where we've come from and stand as silent, majestic guardians of our collective memory. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the history of England's castles. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a fellow history buff, And don't forget to subscribe for more adventures into the past. Let us know in the comments which English castle is your favorite and why. We love reading your stories. Until next time, keep exploring.